It is Brisingr Appreciation Time, Book 3 of the Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. I will start spoiler-free, so if you've read the first 2 books and are trying to decide whether to continue, you'll be safe at the beginning, and then I'll give the spoiler warning when I start getting into spoilers. So if you have read Eragon and Eldest, you may have noticed that there's a big size difference. Eldest is way longer. There is a lot more exposition, a lot more of just longer scenes with more time spent with the characters. There's also that additional viewpoint of Eragon and Rorin, so that alone makes the book longer, but there is just more. Paolini dug a little deeper, he started widening the world, and if you found that you really enjoyed Eragon and got a little bored during Eldest, Brisingr is more of the same. Now, if you got to Eldest and loved it and thought, yes, I love that there's more going on with the characters, I love seeing those interactions, the character growth, Brisingr is more of the same. So I'm going to say that if you did not like Eldest, you're not going to like this or enjoy continuing on in the series. But if you loved Eldest, you're gonna also love Brisingr and Inheritance. There is not a lot of action, but there is a lot of character growth. Okay, that's enough. Spoilers now, because it's the spoilers I want to talk about. Starting with how the book actually starts. We finally have Eragon and Rorin together, going on an adventure together, finally accomplishing the thing that they each separately set out from Carvajal to do. Eragon originally wanted to go chase down the Razak. He wanted vengeance for Garo's death. He left home with Brom to accomplish this task and 2 full books of not being able to do it. Rorin took his entire village away from home to get them to safety to eventually go rescue Katrina and take down the Razak. And so I love that the 2 cousins get to do that together. They both get to go avenge Garo, rescue the girl, kill the bad guys. It's a good way for an epic fantasy book to start. I don't like how Eragon separated himself from Saphira. That seemed a little unnecessary. It seemed like a plot device used only to get Eragon alone. It did not feel necessary. And the whole thing with Sloane just felt kind of awkward. Eragon trying to stick to his morals and trying to figure out a way to make it work so that he feels better. I did enjoy his journey back to the Varden. When he and Arya get back together, I thought there was some really good character and relationship building between them. I feel like Arya is getting to know Eragon better. I don't know if Eragon really gets to know Arya any better over that trip. I don't know that she's put on a false self with him, but he's like the young teenage human and she's the older, wiser elf. And when they met, she was going through so much grief. She'd been tortured. The elf that she loved had been killed. She was having trouble with her mom. She was not in a good, happy place when they met. And so she is kind of like slowly allowing herself to open up to Eragon and allowing a friendship to happen. And so that time they spend traveling together, and especially that long chapter where they're camped for the night, I thought was a really good way for them to just kind of build their friendship. It's not a romance in this book. It's just a friendship, and that's just what they need right now, and it's fine. I also think there's a lot of little clues through this book for what happens with Arya in Inheritance. If you have not read Inheritance, I won't say what happens, but there's a few things that stood out to me that happen in Brisingr where I'm like, ahaha. It was interesting how angry she was with Eragon about how he handled Sloane, but then when they get back to the Varden and both Nazuada and Orin agree with Eragon, of course you had to do that. Of course you couldn't react in a way that the evil dragon rider would. We need you to be better and more moral than him. And Arya was kind of like, huh, I hadn't looked at it that way. It's like, in some ways, by getting to know humans better and actually becoming friends with some of the humans, because I'm not sure she was ever friends with any before. She kind of held herself apart. Now she's becoming friends with humans and learning a different moral sense from them. I don't know, I think it's good for her. Eragon, despite all the growth he's had, despite being a legendary heroic figure now, is still a peasant from a backwater village, and it shows in his feelings toward the Urgles. He is so prejudiced. Yeah, there's good reason based on how the Urgles have been, but he is not being open-minded at all when it comes to them. It is hard work for him to overcome that hump. I think the way that he was so prejudiced against them was very realistic because of his history as a person and where he comes from. The way he wanted to hold on to his feelings and not let them go. And then he's forced into close quarters with Nargarzvog. However you say that. Garzvog. Nargarzvog. I think that was good for him and his maturity. Other things that I just loved. I loved the wedding. Eragon got to marry his cousin, perform the wedding ceremony. The resolution with Elva, Eragon trying his best. He really, really did feel remorseful about what he did to Elva. He tried his hardest to take it back in a way that would work. Didn't work how he intended, just like the blessing didn't work how he intended, but Elva is fine with it. She's already weird, she's already different, she's gonna have to deal with it, so why not get something out of it? Why not have a little bit of extra power for herself? She doesn't want Eragon to take that last little bit that she has away. That's understandable, I think. I didn't make notes for this video, so I'm like looking at the names of the chapters, so I go, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that. There didn't need to be so much extra, I don't know, would you call it exposition? How much we learn about the dwarves' way of life when Eragon goes for the picking of the new dwarf ruler, but I enjoyed that. I liked getting to know dwarf culture a little more. And this is also the book where Saphira gets to fulfill her vow and do some cool magic. The Star Sapphire lives again. As far as Rorin, first book you get basically nothing. Second book you get him going from farmer to reluctant gray character hero kind of guy, and in this third one he really gets to prove himself as a man and a soldier and a husband, and just how much he is able to accomplish with no magic. And Katrina, good woman Katrina, the way she encourages him, you are so much braver because you don't have magic. All those other people who are supernaturally strong and capable, they can rely on those abilities, and she's encouraging Rorin, you don't have those abilities and you're still doing awesome. That makes you even better and braver. What a great thing for a wife to say. And she's right. Okay, he needs a dragon rider's sword. I don't know that the forging of the sword was particularly meaningful to me as a reader, but I'm glad he gets a real sword that's his own. Not the stolen sword from the man who abused his mother and his father. At this point, I don't think he would want to use... What's the name of his old sword? I can't remember the name of Morzan's sword. Well, he doesn't have that sword anymore, and I don't think he would even want to use it. He gets his own. He gets to help forge it. He names it. And then this is the book. And this is the part that was the most meaningful for me, the part that made me the most emotional, and I will admit, cried a little bit. The chapters in which Eragon learns about his parents. I'm sure I will go more into it at some point when I make a full character study video about Eragon through the inheritance cycle. But those chapters, he's been through so much. He never has known who his father was. He knew the basic identity of his mother, but nothing about her, what kind of woman she was. And as he starts to learn about his heritage, he learns a false heritage first. And he has time to internalize that false heritage and to question everything about his life and about himself as a person. And now finally he gets the truth. A truth that he is much happier with, a truth that he would have wanted more, a truth that he can really embrace and live with and try to live up to. I love that he gets a picture of his mom, and after all that time of feeling like Brom was like a father to me, guess what? More than just feels like. It is too bad. It's a tragedy that Eragon didn't get to know his parents. The time he spent with Brom, he didn't know who Brom was. But now he at least gets to have a better self-image of where he comes from. He gets to be more proud of where he comes from. And now I feel like he can just fully enter the fight, fully put forth himself. Now, knowing who he is more, where he comes from, he can give of himself even more to defeating the enemy, to ridding the land of evil. And it's at the end of Brisingr that we get a second Shade Slayer. And I liked what Eragon said. How often has anyone in history ever taken down a shade? Well, they were all alone. Eragon had Saphira and Arya, and Arya has them. None of them were taking on the shade all by themselves. The power of friendship. Thoroughly enjoyable reread. I am on to Inheritance and then Murtagh, which I know nothing about except that the main character is Murtagh, and I'm looking forward to it. And I hope to see you back here for some more videos. Bye.